So, good evening, everyone. Welcome. I hope all of you are keeping well. And in the previous session, we discussed about essay. So, we discussed about the various segments pertaining to essay writing, and we discussed about what is the role of idea generation in terms of brainstorming and brain mapping. What is the role of brain mapping, the do's and don'ts, how to generate the dimensions, how UPSC syllabus is quite helpful in generating dimensions. I discussed about problems, how a generalized list of problems is also helpful, because any kind of problem we have some exclusive understanding of it, but the moment we start getting thawed, or we feel that the content is not getting created, the list can help us substantiate something more. So, as your friends are joining in for the session, I give you this freedom that if you have any problem associated with whatever has been taught so far, you can just ask. One, second, the do's and don'ts of essay, I requested all of you to read and come. So, you can always share the components associated with do's and don'ts, any word, any term that you could not understand, or you could not validate, you can just ask that, any term associated with this that has been discussed yesterday. Namaskar, Sushri. So I think that in the do's and don'ts, as I was just penury, couldn't you find it? Sake, P-N-U-R-Y. Use the dictionary right now. You have the intellectual freedom. Yeah. Okay. So I'm good. Thank you, Shamil. So do's and don'ts of essay. Let's reflect upon that. So how to build constructive criticism, know the multidimensional perspectives of any given topic, and you will be able to have a balanced approach or a balanced sense of understanding. So you will be able to understand that. Okay, the values aspects of brainstorming, can you please explain? Values aspects of brainstorming, I think brain mapping you imply to say. Broader human principles and values that I had given Abhishek is associated with the ethics paper. So how the we can consider the broader values which are essential for humanity is associated with the topic. Which values can be consolidated or connected with the topic? That is what had to be done. Okay. As we go to the discuss other parts of brain mapping, or not like we discuss dimensions and problems, no, on an average other parts are relatively direct or simple. They did not need that kind of reflection. In the component of dimensions, this problems happens, that people feel that, oh, I know the dimension, social, economic, political, environmental, I'll open. But the moment they have to start thinking about it, there is an initial hitch. For example, your class in a consolidated manner could think of 6 7 points, right, related to the economic perspective of education as it should be. But it was not an individual effort. If I ask you as a person that discuss the economic aspect, you might experience the hitch after 3 to 4 points itself. That's why I said that when you experience the hitch, recall the syllabus. Syllabus can act as a facilitator of, let's say, finding out the solution to it. So that is something which will give you an insight what to develop and how to consolidate the segments. How to develop professional mindset to tackle philosophical questions, huh? Why will you need professional mindset for philosophical questions? You need to have a philosophical mindset for philosophical questions, and that is developed when you know the syllabus thoroughly. If you want an objective approach, then yes, memorizing the core aspects of thinkers, the core, we can say, terms and terminologies related to every chapter, and practicing it by writing will help you to develop that objectivity in terms of responding, seeing the question, recalling the core content, and then responding to it accordingly. All right. So that's what, Sachin, I can respond to this given dimension. Can we use civil services values or ethics? Yes, yes. In essay, you have to borrow it substantially. Substantially. That's what I can say. How physiological dimensions are different from broader human values. Physiological is pertaining to the physiology, right? It's not associated with philosophy. So philosophy will be different from physiological. Physiological is pertaining to the body, which I had given under the physical quotient, right? And if you are thinking of psychological, so psychology is very different from philosophy or the broader human values. Psychology will be associated with your innate mental capability, right? So whatever is the question, I think it is duly addressed, even if there might have been any spell error, right? So let us proceed further ahead with respect to this given area. So like do's and don'ts of essay in the previous session as we were discussing about it. So in this I discussed the importance of grammar. I gave you a lot of like questions, like just normal sentences, and asking you the interpretation of it. That's why grammar plays a very crucial role in this given subsegment. So that's something which you all can incorporate. Handwriting plays not a very important role, but it does play a role, because if you are having a very average handwriting, marking can get affected. That's what I can say. All right. So why not read things in a pleasant manner? Why shouldn't the examiner expect pleasant feeling while reading the component, right? So can we write geographical? Yes. When you're talking about environmental segment, it gets connected to the geographical aspect. So in essay, can we use all dimensions of GS paper, but language should be imaginary? No, why should language be imaginary? Language also needs, can be borrowed for from the GS component. All right. So, like language, what is imaginary language? I don't understand this imaginary word itself. One para, one idea, it means that in one paragraph, write one perspective. Suppose if, like, suppose you're writing education as it should be, and in that, suppose you're thinking a lot of points from social perspective. So don't get overwhelmed that, oh my God, one para, one idea, and I have ideas which are worthy of 150 words. In that situation, break the para into two. So two paras will be healthy in that situation. So it's not like sticking to one para, one idea, but if the point is short, like let's say just 50 or 70 words, psychological aspect, suppose you have it, it's okay. It's okay to write a para which is short and it is barely 2 or 3 sentences. But if it is too long, it will become too boring. So it is important to take pauses, and that's how you are like you're required to go ahead with understanding it. 60 marks each time. I lately stared. It is okay in the first stage. Sanya, it's not a great marks. This is what, okay, 60 out of 125. Yeah, this is fine. As a beginner, like when we are speaking of it, it's fine. But there is a lot of scope for growth. You need to understand that as well. As a beginner, 60 out of 125 is decent enough. Minimum words per para, no, there's nothing like minimum words. The moment the idea flips, you can change the para. So that's perfectly fine if your para is like 50 words, or it is 80 words, or it is like, let's say, something like 30 words. It's perfectly fine. It's all about how you're articulating the idea. Okay. One idea, one para, again, one in one para, write one idea. If the idea is short, doesn't matter. If the idea is too stretched and long, it will become boring. So take a break in the para. This is what I said, Shweta. All right. Story writing versus essay writing. Oh, yes. We'll talk about it when we are talking about types of introduction, Ravi. All right. After completing one segment, should we start another para? Oh, yes. This is what I was sharing when I was discussing about one para, one idea. Santosh, right? Okay. Now, so as we are moving ahead with the do's and don'ts, I said towards the beginning, I'll just give a brief overview regarding do's and don'ts. So let us reflect upon this given subsegment. And I hope that you all have revised the ethics paper which I taught you like something around 2 weeks back. If not, please start revising. That is going to help you majorly even in essay writing. Okay. So please get into that. So that's what is suggested. Go through the like ethics segment which was taught to you by me just 15 days back. Be more thorough with it so that you can reproduce it properly. So is it fine? I'll improve. Okay, fine. So for first para, how to write. We have not started discussing about types of introduction, Ghulam. So patience is the key. How much marks can be considered as good? Well, something like 60% at least to begin with, Aditya. Now, So here, when we are discussing about this segment of do's of essay, I said that also take care of punctuation marks. Do you understand the relative importance of punctuation marks? It can be the real game changer if you are understanding the importance of punctuation marks. See, if I'm using something like this, see the importance of punctuation marks. If we speak of it, anyway, I'll not give you a pun statement, I'll give you a serious kind of statement. So there is this statement: the Syrian revolution has cost thousands of lives on both sides. The number of dead on the government side is not much less than the other side, and shall cost thousands more. Okay, see. This was a sentence which was published in the Hindu. Okay, way back when the Syrian revolution was erupting. So there's a basic rule to punctuation marks, which all of you should know. There's something which will be helpful all the more in CSAT comprehension. Okay, so here, what all of you need to understand related to this given area is this part, which is the first part, and this part, which is the third part, are the ones connected grammatically. It is 1 plus 3, which is creating a grammatically meaningful sentence. So, grammatically meaningful sentence. Okay. So, second part is grammatically not connected. Not connected. It is just extra enumeration, elaboration. Okay. So, extra elaboration of the subject. Just remember this rule when we are speaking of it. Okay, so here, the Syrian revolution has cost thousands of lives on both sides. This part. So far means this. Jump, come here, read this. This is the actual sentence. The Syrian revolution has cost thousands of lives on both sides and shall cost thousands more. Sentence becomes short, crisp, easy to read. So just remember this rule. Now, something that I can add to this rule. Instead of comma, there could have been the usage of dash. Okay. Instead of comma, there could have been the usage of dash. Okay. So the Syrian revolution has cost thousands of lives on both sides, dash. The number of dead on the government side is not much less than the other side, dash, and shall cost thousands more. Full stop. This. Got it, everyone? Everyone is getting an idea associated with like how to put it to use when you are interpreting the statement, right? So it can be something like so Sai Dinesh, you need to read. You need to read. If you have joined late, just need to read it. See this. First and third sentence is making grammatically meaningful sentence, a wholesome sentence. Second part is only an elaboration. And the pauses between sentences is taken via comma, or other than comma, there can be also usage of dash. right? Other than dash, there could have been the usage of brackets, which is also called parenthesis in grammatical language. So it could have been like this. It could have been like this. So the same method, first part connect with third part, and that is how you can understand it. Okay, so parenthesis is what it is. Now, in school days, we used to read a story in which a woman wrote a letter to her husband, but due to illiteracy of punctuation marks, entire letter changed to something else, and her husband gave her divorce. Okay, Abhishek. Yes, that must have been an interesting read, and thus it would have been hyphenated. That why punctuation marks are essential. So very true. So now, this sentence was not actually this simple. Now, let me show you what exactly the sentence was. So, let me create something more like interesting related to this given statement. So, as we all can see this given subdimension, related to this, the actual sentence was the Syrian revolution, comma, if it can be called that, again a comma, has cost thousands of lives on both sides, dash, the number of dead on the government side is not much less than the other side, dash, okay, and shall cause thousands more. Fine, this was the segment. So this is like, if we are speaking of it, we all can see that what are the extra dimensions. If we reflect upon it, we all can see that this is the extra dimension, if it can be called that. What is it referring to? Syrian revolution, right? So if what is happening in Syria, if it can be called as a revolution, but the author does not want to get into the debate or the dialogue whether it is a Syrian revolution, mean it's a revolution or agitation or revolt or movement. The author is putting a disclaimer, if it can be called that, means whatever is happening in Syria, if we can call it a revolution, then okay. So the Syrian revolution, okay, and then the extra enumeration between the two commas, and then it is written, has cost thousands of lives on both sides. And as we can see, it's written, has cost thousands of lives on both sides. So after the usage of double comma, we jump, we move to the main sentence, has cost thousands of lives on both sides. Okay, again there is double dash, so because of double dash, we again jump, we get back to the main sentence, and shall cost thousands more. So this is the actual sentence that we are reading. The Syrian revolution has cost thousands of lives on both sides and shall cost thousands more. In between, with double commas stuffed in between, double dash stuffed in between, extra enumeration is created. This is just extra enumeration, extra elaboration of the core sentence. Got it? In simple language, in your grammar books, like you find examples like these, like my friend, comma, who is a writer, is a painter. Like this level is what you get in school days. But this is the level you get in newspapers, you get in CSAT passages. Okay. So my friend is a painter, everyone can see. Who is a writer is an extra enumeration. So punctuation marks do play a very vital role in terms of interpretation. Like learn them, that it will be more helpful for all of you in other respects according to me. So this is what is advisable for all of you. All right. I hope all of you can connect with this. Yeah, that what is the usage. So punctuation marks pretty critical, and that's why it is advisable that please be thorough with the punctuation marks. They alter the meaning and they can also substantiate the components accordingly. All right. Now, with respect to this, as we further move ahead, we all can see that the constitutional principles, do not mess up with the constitutional principles. Along with the constitutional principles, the constructive criticism should always be there, so that the examiner can see that you are a balanced person. You're not only like, you are neither a person who is just towing the the order, and you're nor a person who is like someone who's anti-system. We need a balanced person. So pro constitution writing and constructive criticism, balance of both. again, updated information, authenticated information. See to it your information is updated. Don't write something which is like old, because if it has been in news and it has been updated, then the examiner will sense that you are not a well read person. For example, National Family Health Survey 5 has, the report has been out. Even like in certain areas they are thinking about conducting the components pertaining to 6, but anyway, 5, the report is published and is out. And suppose you are quoting National Family Health Survey 3 or 4, so that is something which will not be appreciated. Okay. Again, use examples, facts, and quotes. This makes the essay interesting. Okay. So for generating interesting, go ahead with this. One para, one idea. I've explained this already. Logical connection or flow is very important. If dates and segments are discussed in any topic, if there is that the intellectual space is demanding that possibility, go for chronology. Otherwise, at least maintain a logical flow. One idea leading to the other, flowing into the other, and making sense accordingly. Okay. Use simple sentences. What do we mean by use simple sentences? Simple sentences is associated with one breath rule. Do not write long and meandering sentences because it has a very negative impact. Okay. So because, like, the examiner feels disillusioned that what did you imply to say, and that is something which leads to, I would say, a disillusioned level of understanding. Probably for this, I can give you an example. So, there was this student who was appearing for interview this year. I'm not taking his name because that will be disrespectful to a person. But you can understand, if the child was appearing for the interview, that means there was a sizable level of preparation associated with the segment of mains, right? So this student, in the process of going ahead with the preparation, the student came up with the segment of essay writing, and I was quite surprised seeing what the student had written. So there were a lot of, mistakes which were there associated with the child. The prime mistake, the ideas were amazing, the engagement was quite in depth, but the problem was long and meandering sentences. Okay, I'll give you a hint of it so that you get an idea. So the topic was, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. That was the test, and the child had written on this specific topic. When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Okay, we are challenged to change ourselves. So, what has the child written? You can just listen. I'm not reading the entire essay, I'm just reading a chunk of it. Okay. So the child is bringing industrial revolution in the topic. Okay, when I repeat once again the topic, so that those who did not pay attention, this is the last opportunity to listen to the topic. So when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. Fine. So the student has written, as like all of you can just pay attention. So he has written, industrial revolution forced human society to change the economic system, so human society to change, comma, the economic systems to evolve, comma, bred colonialism, comma, capitalism and resistive forces such as communism too. You're like, okay, fine, a lot of ideas, but you are able to connect with it, so you're like, fine, okay. Then further he writes, presently humanity stands at another significant epoch of human existence, that is the initial stage of fourth industrial revolution, comma, the artificial intelligence revolution, which is evident from history that after initial resistance and attempt to change the situation to its own advantage, if the situation appears not to change, comma, then change of self becomes the only viable option, full stop. Right? Like, I was understanding it in bits and pieces, but I was unable to grab the whole idea. Come again. I want to listen to it again, or I want to read it again. You'll have that tendency. This is what. His sentences were too long and meandering. Language was good. Critical reflections were profound. Content was very much pro topic. Okay. The problem was associated with too long and meandering sentences. Okay. I'll give you one more example associated with what he did. Another, like, I'm jumping few paras, he's written, related to LPG reforms and economic reforms. He's written, initially efforts were made to keep the economic system as socialist as possible, but situation changed, and when it breached the control of the government, comma, it was provided sorry, it was prudent to liberalize the economy for survival and economic and overall prosperity of the nation. Like going on, and but yet and so many conjunctions. This is what I imply to say one breath rule. Write a sentence which you can read in one breath, and that means you can use one conjunction, a comma or two. Okay, but do not go with 2 3 conjunctions in the same statement, and but yet still, whereas, though, like, don't do too much of it. Okay, so that is something which will kill the expression. The purpose of communication will get affected. Okay, so simple sentences, one breath, one rule. This is what you can understand. All right, so long sentences, you could see that the child had a good command over language. Grammar was correct. Reflections were profound. What was missing was this. Hmm. Okay. Be creative and original in your viewpoints. That's something which is essential when we speak of it. So, creative and original in viewpoints. Okay. Then put special emphasis on points that strongly support the central idea. Okay. So, special emphasis on points that strongly support the central idea. Okay, so this is something which we all can understand. Again, further, when we substantiate this, we all can see the strongest points should be stated in the beginning and last paragraphs of the essay. Strongest points towards the beginning, right? So, central idea points or strongest points, when you write it towards the beginning, you prove it to the examiner that you are understanding the topic, that you are making sense, that your content is valid or relevant. Okay, now, so further, make sure that the paras, they follow a logical sequence, because one idea should be leading to other. You are getting rewarded or punished for like affecting the logical sequence. Okay, so see to it that this possibility is created. Clarity is priceless. That is something which will be rewarded, because then only examiner will be able to make sense of what you are writing and will be able to appreciate it you accordingly. There are some like phrases which I have shared with all of you that will help you to create the content accordingly. You can see that there seems to be no compelling reason to argue that. Okay, again, the argument can be made. You can see this, the argument can be made, right? Again, you can see current research on the topic suggests that the most common argument in favor, there is a growing body of evidence and support. Expressions, right? Expressions that you can follow in your essay. Don't avoid any extreme opinion, any kind of extremity, except when you are criticizing and condemning any crime, any we can say possibility which is hindering human values. Okay, in that situation you can have extreme opinions. Again, you can see flow charts, maps, diagrams. That's something that you have to avoid, as I suggested to all of you, because essay is a piece of literature. It is a slice of your mindset. Flowchart, maps, diagrams are needed to substantiate only when language is failing to prove itself. Otherwise, you can always explain things in linguistic terminology. And I shared this with all of you that across the world, nowhere we see the usage of flowcharts, maps, and diagrams. It's not that the world is not capable to do so. It's just that in essay, in the, we can say, format of essay, these things are unnecessary. Okay. Abbreviations like, see, WHO is acceptable, but GOVT dot is not acceptable. Globalization, GOLB, is not acceptable. PPL for people is not acceptable. Okay. Don't overwhelm the essay with information and facts when we speak of it. Okay. So, like, just keep the essay engaging. Do not write too many facts. Too many facts is, and please remember this, overwhelm is the word. Don't write too many facts. Do not address the reader, means do not write you, as you can see, as you can observe, as you may consider. No, as it can be observed, as it can be considered. Do not use first person. Don't write as I can say, as I may consider. Okay, so just avoid I, we, especially I, just avoid it. It is a mark of narcissism. It is a mark of self obsession. So why to communicate something which you are not, just because you don't know that this should not be used? So better know this, that this should not be used at all. All right. So with respect to this SME, please support Geeta. She is unable to connect to the class. There is some technical glitch she is experiencing. So like as we may consider, we may say is also not needed. It's better you write in third person, as it can be observed, as it can be considered, as it has been like declared, something like that. Okay, so that's what we can consider. Again, don'ts of essay, when we are speaking of it, you can again see that do not go too far generalizing the topic. Too far generalizing the topic means, as yesterday, remember when we were talking about problems, and in the problems agriculture, when we were discussing, someone said, ma'am, Ukrainian and Russian war. I was like, don't go too much too far. It's not necessary that we like connect every point with the problem. If the question is talking about like majority of the farmers in India are suffering from subsistence, so first stick to India, don't talk about global phenomena. Second, if you are thinking about India and you are talking about the problem of subsistence with majority of farmers, and then talking about war happening in border area, India and Pakistan, that will not be associated with majority of farmers. So that will be too far generalizing the topic. Avoid any such possibility. It's not necessary that you have to write all dimensions and all points. You can skip few which are not directly connected. Now, refrain from narrating very long incidents or stories. Okay, very long incidents and stories in essay, just avoid that, because it's not story writing competition. कहानी लिखो प्रतियोगिता नहीं चल रही है, ठीक है, ध्यान रखिएगा, निबंध लिखो प्रतियोगिता है. So when it is like the competition is all about writing an essay, it is not associated with story writing competition. Avoid any such activity. Okay, so Jadav is also experiencing some technical glitch. Please SME support him. So you all can understand this, right? All of you are getting it. So very long sentences, very long incidents, very long stories, avoid all of it. Okay. Incidents, what is the nature, what is the size? I'll give you a brief glimpse of it through few examples which we will be sharing and discussing in a short while. Where will we be discussing about it? We shall discuss about all of it in the types of introduction, where anecdotes will be like put to action. All right. Should we not use such sentences as I believe that? So the question, Abhijit, will be, who are you? The moment you are like writing, I believe that, so I believe that, who are you? Every time I believe that, I want to say that, I consider that, that is a mark of narcissism. Okay, it can be said, it is believed that, it is considered that, that's a better expression. Yes, you can use quotes. And should we, like, this is done. And okay, again, few students are experiencing the problem to log in. Just be little like this alert and SME, just keep responding to them quickly so that they are able to like join the session in time. So all right, Praveen, let us, like Parveen, let us call it off and just focus on what is being discussed now. Do not use irrelevant facts or figures, like you're writing something which is not needed. As I said, that if the problem is related to majority of farmers experiencing a strain in even sustaining themselves, subsistence agriculture becomes strenuous. So in that, if you are writing something associated with, like, let's say this Russian and Ukrainian war, so Russian Ukrainian war, when we speak of it, it's irrelevant, it's nothing to do with the topic. So refrain from anything as such. Okay, irrelevant facts can also be like you are writing something just because you know. Okay, so suppose you know that incidents of violence in urban and rural areas, suppose you have the data and you're like, let me put it somehow. So you're writing that farmers may also suffer losses because of different types of violence that happens in rural area according to NCRB, and then you're quoting the data. But is violence the prime reason responsible for lack of subsistence of farmers? No. And violence and friction can happen due to umpteen reasons beyond economy. right? There can be caste based violence, there can be violence pertaining to gender relations, okay? There can be violence associated with multiple other reasons, okay, beyond, we can say, strain over relations over a field. So that's what, don't try to push things unnecessarily. Avoid stating facts or figures you are unsure of, because a lot of thinkers, a lot of students, thinkers I said, sorry, so a lot of students have a tendency to think that why can't I write this fact? The examiner might not be knowing. Or there are so many dimensions we are studying in GS, so many subjects we are studying in GS. The examiner might not be aware of it. Now, please let me share this basic fact with you. The examiner is at least double your age, at least, maybe thrice also. Okay. So if you are 20 years old or 21 years old, the person might be 59-year old. First. Second, you can also see that this person throughout the life has earned an honest bread by educating and by, imparting knowledge. On birthdays and anniversaries, such people, or we academicians in general, I can say, we generally get books as gifts. We are asked that what do you want to buy, or what are you aspiring to own, and like we also share the name of books because that's what we look forward to purchase. So birthdays and anniversaries, all occasions, books are the, we can say, relief. If you are in any strained situation, god forbid, so in that situation also a person runs to one's own library, one's own nook and corner, safe space, comfortable space, where a person lifts a book, and after lifting a book the person tries to read it. Okay. So when we are speaking of such possibilities, when we are speaking of such situations, we all need to understand that like you know in the process of, we can consider, in the process of unfolding the reality, in the process of understanding the reality, a student may think that I had read something like this somewhere and writes it with conviction. But the truth is, the examiner knows in 90% of the things far more than you, even the examples and facts that you are quoting. Okay. There can be only a possibility of your personal life experience or some local or remote area example or anecdote which might not be known, but otherwise general facts are known. So do not fool around or goof up with facts. Do not try to oversmart the examiner, because if the examiner feels that there is any kind of intellectual corruption, it can backfire against you. You can suffer from negative rewarding. Okay. And all of you, during the ethics session I told you that 25 to 35 penalty marks is given in any of the papers if this intellectual inauthenticity is experienced. The examiner is asking X, you are writing Y, or you are purposefully fitting in Y. So just like avoid that kind of possibility. Again, conclusion should not be forced, it should be reflecting the points that you have discussed throughout the essay in a gist. Avoid introducing any new information towards the concluding para. Any new dimension, perspective should be in the beginning or in the midst of the para, as per the importance of the point. Towards the last two paras, don't try to introduce some new segment to the essay. Let the conclusion be a kind of a calming effect, a soothing effect. It should have a sense of, we can say, settled, okay, settled, harmonized experience in the conclusion. That's what should be created. All right. Then, so I hope do's and don'ts, it's clear. Any other do's and don'ts you are not aware of, please ask. I will be explaining that. Any word, a book can be opened for infinite time. So very true, so very true. So can we, should we support points, quoting reports? Yes, you can support your points, quoting reports and facts. That's acceptable. So, Russia, Ukraine among major exporters of grain. Can't we add the point in agriculture related topics? Yes, you can. If it is, the topic is giving you freedom of global example. If the topic does not give you the freedom to write global examples, it will become unnecessary. Right, Anu? So if the topic is exclusive to India, don't need to write global examples. Should we not use sarcasm or satire? Well, sarcasm or satire, it's not that you can't use it, but let it not be against the government or the system or the state. Okay. If you are talking about some phenomena which can be altered, uh, talk it in another healthy way rather than going bitter about it, because sarcasm or satire is used when there is a sense of hopelessness and bitterness. Where sarcasm and satire is not just anger or failure or sadness related to what did not happen. Along with anger, failure, and sadness, there is a sense of bitterness and hopelessness. That's why it is said that refrain from sarcasm or satire. Because you don't need to, being a future bureaucrat, you don't need to show or indicate hopelessness or bitterness, because either of it will not lead to the space and scope for reformation. Whereas what should be ideally there? There should be always a space and scope for reformation, improvement, right? Can we talk about bureaucratic apathy and lethargy? Yes, yes, yes. Like we can see that the second ARC talks about all the problems associated with the system. So you can always remember those points also I had given, memorize that, reproduce, that's okay. How do we practice essay? First, how do you write an essay? Learn that. Then think about practicing. We are just 2 lectures through. It's a 250-mark area. At least have the patience to listen to 6 sessions. 2 is over. Listen to 4 more. Understand each and every chunk, how to deal with it, and then keep writing essays. That is what is actually needed to build your basic concepts. So, in historical essays, can we use maps? Basaya, if you want to use, go ahead. But the thing is, how many historical essays are asked, right? Majority of the essays you are seeing are philosophical in nature. First. Second, even if you are making a map, do not rely on just making a map and leaving it. Okay. Focus on the language and explanation part of it. You won't be rewarded for the map. You will be rewarded for the content. So focus on explanation. Can we use sarcasm in criticism? Just write criticism. Criticism itself is like hyphenating the given possibility of problem. And how many of you actually know the language of sarcasm? How to write sarcasm? That's another question. So, conclusion I have yet not discussed. I need to discuss types of introduction and conclusion. Okay. Farmers, with which segment we have to start, like economic or social? Santosh, when the question is subsistence, it is associated with survivability. So survivability should start with the economic and then move to social, cultural, political, whatever. Okay. Now, with respect to this, as we are moving further ahead related to the next subcomponent of essay writing today, starting with types of introduction. So under the component of types of introduction, all of you are aware of some popular types, right? Like definition, quotation. You people were talking about short stories, so I write anecdotes. These anecdotes can be based on mythology, so mythological, or they can be based on real life experiences, or they can be associated with, I would say, imaginary experiences, or imaginary situations would be a better word. It can be based on historical background. Let me see what people are writing. No worries, Anuishka. Just attend the session, the recorded version. Like in fundamental rights, critiques said fundamental rights and limitations thereon. Yes, you can write those statements, Sai Dinesh. Right? Okay. Now, another segment which we can talk about is, yes, you can talk about, we can say, startling information, not just any current affairs, startling facts or information. It can be associated with raising a question or a set of questions. It can be based on a generalized overview, generalized overview to a specific discussion. Remembering exact data or figures is essential in essay. At least let it be tentatively close. I mean, if I'm talking about gross enrollment ratio of children in primary education, 2019 Ministry of HRD data, so it was like 98.5. So let it be like it is above 90% or above 95%, right? It should not be something like it is above 80%. That's too distant, right? So when data is there, at least let it be helpful. So primary school stories are also real life stories, real life experiences, right? Montu, once a scholar said, can we write like this? Yeah, you can mention like this. A scholarly opinion or a scholarly reflection related to this has been. Deductive approach, yeah, I mean, like we are discussing about that with respect to this. Ma'am, if in the, what is it? Abhinash, your question came just half. Ma'am, if in the, that's it. So, what can I understand by that? In essay, language and ideas should be used, figures are not needed. Yeah, language and ideas are required. Like we can consider figures, facts and figures can be written because startling facts and information can be incorporated, right? Now, eighth is we can consider the segment associated with conversation. Right now, let me explain all this segment. Can we write real life experiences of our own life? Third point is discussing about it, anecdote, Anu. So you can definitely write it, but preferably don't write in first person, write it in third person. uh, where can we get quotations of Mahabharata and Ramayana? Any source. Lyrin Lakpam, you can get the sources online also. There are a lot of, like, you can like search important lessons, teachings, quotations of, and then you can write down the text name: Bible, Quran, Mahabharat, Ramayan, Rig Veda, whatever, and material will appear. A lot of links will appear. Okay. How many facts are the limit for one segment? Don't overwhelm it with facts. It should not look fact, a fact, a fact. It should not look like a GS answer that you're going on and on with facts. Focus more on critical reflection and analysis, right? So, essay paper is one in mains, ma'am. Yes, there are two essays, one question paper. Gayu, go through the syllabus. I don't know why am I addressing this question also. So, how many facts are there limited done? Okay, can I write number 6? Is it allowed? Yes, I'll be talking about it now. So let me suggest this given possibility, what needs to be done in each one of them. Yes, I'll be talking about that, Abhijit. When you're asking about Doha and all that, I'll discuss about it. If one topic, education, anecdote, Eklavya, Dronacharya, yes, you can go ahead with that. Does the whole tone of essay move towards biases? No. There have been times when manipulation, if you're talking about manipulation of students by the teachers, whereby their talent is snubbed. Okay, in that situation, you can give such an example, that when teachers are able to identify the true aptitude of a child, but rather than encouraging it, when they discourage or when they create a hindrance, so you can, in that you can discuss about it. Yeah, so what are the qualifying marks for language paper? There's not language paper discussion going on. We are discussing about essay. Now, with respect to this given area, let us discuss each one of them in quite substantial detail so that you realize what mistakes you perform and what you have to avoid. How to create a powerful introduction which overwhelms the examiner in the first go. Like you read the first 2 pages and you're like, wow, I really want to read what more this student can create, what more this student can probably, like, open up with. So how to create that space or the possibility of overwhelming the examiner with some substantial areas and facts, right? While writing and Hindi lines, do we need to write in Devanagari? Oh, I'll talk about it. Not neither WhatsApp language. What is WhatsApp language, Aryan? Okay, I'll talk about it. Let me address this area first. Like, let us say when you are talking about the component of quotation, okay. So if the quotation is of different language, okay, first language, sources, everything. Let me take that up. Okay. So first and foremost, with respect to quotations, see to it that quotations are interesting, engaging, relevant. Relevant means they are associated with the topic, connected to the topic. Right. So with respect to quotations, you are supposed to look into these sub-segments when we are speaking of it. Okay. So quotations, they ought to be interesting, engaging, and relevant. This is what is advisable. All right. With respect to this segment of quotation, when I'm speaking of it, you need to now think about the component of language. Suppose you are using a quotation of another language. Suppose it is another language, then you are supposed to write it in, like, yes, English font, and after writing it in English font, you are also supposed to provide, that is a must part, that is the translation. The meaningful translation should be provided, because you are not expecting the examiner to know it. Like, for example, the All India first rank 2013, Gaurav Agarwal, he wrote Guru Gobind Do Khade, Kanke Langu Pae, like this. Guru Gobind Do Khade, like this. And after that, whatever he wrote, like 2 lines, and after writing that, in bracket he wrote the explanation, that if God, sorry, God should always be in caps, so if God and the teacher both are standing in front of me, who should I revere first? Towards whom should I pay my obeisance first, or my respect first? Definitely it shall be my teacher, because it is my teacher who guided me to God. Okay, so, and then further, like, the importance of profound teachers in the life of an individual, in the process of imparting education, and then further he keeps continuing. So that's how you're supposed to take care of it. Okay. So Rohit, were you absent yesterday or day before yesterday, especially day before yesterday? Because um, okay, are you speaking of like the language paper, as in you want to say the qualifying paper? Yes, in qualifying paper also essay is asked. If you are hinting that, yes, so in qualifying paper also it's there. Fine. Can we explain the 8 ways of taking one essay as example, please? 8 ways of taking one essay. Like, I cannot understand that, Sri Devi. If you're implying that how to use quotation or how to use definition, I'll be just coming up with multiple examples. Please understand, all of you. Hold your horses. Be patient. I'll be explaining every single segment in another 1 hour at least. I'm going to speak at least 1 hour over this topic. So just be patient, listen to each one of them patiently, and you'll get all your explanations bit by bit. All right. Now, so quotation, when it comes to language, this is the segment. Now comes the source of quotation when we speak of it. Okay. So when we are discussing about sources related to quotation, it can be anything. It can be associated with all forms of literature. All forms of literature. Means here you can consider story, poetry, drama or play, novel. You can also connect it with cinema or movies, whatever. You can pick dialogues from there also. You can pick from TV series. Okay. You can put it pick it from advertisements and jingles, billboards. You can pick it from anime, anything that is entertaining you and you are open to the segment. All right. It can also be associated with, we can say, proverbs, or we can also say phrases of a given, like we can say, civilization, language, culture, whatsoever. You can pick it from there. You can also like talk about it when we are talking about this segment of quotation. It can be from like, ma'am, if I need to translate, can we not directly write in English? Nikhat, why do you expect the examiner to understand a language other than English? When you have committed that you'll write the essay in English, it should be in English. The examiner is not bound to understand Sanskrit, Urdu, Tamil, Telugu, Hindi. Like, the examiner is not bound to understand. So that's why do not try to just write in that language and leave it. Please provide the translation. All right. So, can we use song lyrics? Yeah, song lyrics is a part of like the movie. So, yes. Can we write the quote in English or Tanglish? No, not even that. Don't try that. Write the entire quotation in the original language and then provide the translation. That's the standard, I would say, official way to write it, formal way to write it. Idioms and axioms, yeah, you can do that also if it is fitting in the game. So, yeah, with respect to this, yes, you can write it in original language, or if you directly want to write in English, you can do that also, Nikat. You can write it original, rather than writing the original language, you can straight away translate and then straight away present the statement which was given by the person. Because Plato and Aristotle were not writing in English, or Thiruvalluvar was not writing in English. But you, when you're quoting them, you can straight away quote in English. So that's possible. Okay, so I'll show you the example, Sakib. The movie dialogues I'll be showing you. Just first understand the sources. Okay, so when we are like discussing about quotations, there are specific do's and don'ts associated with quotations which you need to follow. I hope that's clear. Same applies to definition. When we are talking about definition, let the definition be wholesome, let it be relevant. Okay, so wholesome, relevant, it should be associated with, like, let us consider, um, the segment should be like, you can consider a definition should be kind of interesting and fresh. Interesting and fresh. Let me give you some example related to definition and quotation and you'll get an idea. See, if someone is writing, like there's a topic related to sports, and the child is writing all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. Hey, after reading that, we feel so dull. Like, okay, all right, you move ahead. You're like, let me see what is more, right? Or someone is writing on democracy and writing government of the people, for the people, by the people. Like, oh, when will the child grow up beyond of the people, for the people? In so many years, could the child not remember one fresh definition of democracy beyond, like, government of the people, for the people, by the people, as given by Abraham Lincoln? There are other statements also spoken by Abraham Lincoln defining the term democracy. So why didn't the child like accept that? Right. So all those possibilities you will be seeing that happening around you. Okay. Wholesome means which is encapsulating all the core ideas related to the word which needs to be defined. Okay. That's what wholesome means. Shruti. Can we use another language, scripture, and then explain in English? Your wish, Anurag. But English has to come because that's the segment that you have committed to perform, in the language in which you have committed to perform. So that has to come. All right. Now, with respect to this given area, so with respect to definition, when I was talking about it, so one of my students, like presently she is working in Rajya Sabha as like, you must be aware of the secretariat exams. If not, you can just find it out. They are distinct other kind of exams other than UPSC, and you directly appear for grade B. And there is only a GS paper and essay paper, no optional, no mains, nothing, just GS paper and this essay paper. You clear and you get into interview, and after interview you further clear it. At departmental level, you have other exams to get promoted from grade B to grade A. The moment you are a grade A officer, your position is equivalent to a senior IS officer. Simple. So if not getting through this mode, there is another mode to get in. Another thing is that if you get into secretariat, you don't you don't get posted in regional centers, regional areas, or other smaller states and other smaller provinces. That's something which you understand. Okay. So now don't ask, I don't want this volley of questions coming. Where is the form? Where is the exam? Who is conducting it? This, that. You can find it out, find on YouTube, find on Google, do whatever, but just know that these exams also exist.